But yeah, anyway, let's begin. I'm going to Lovely. Ladies and gentlemen, super happy to be here, presenting the secret plan to populate thousands of appchain like subnets, planets in the Filecoin galaxy. So, this is my own idea that I think has a potential to revolutionize the IPC network deployment and distribution. So let's move on. But first, let me introduce myself and the Protofire is the team I'm a part of. So probably the majority of you knows the Protofire as the part of the services that you know as Glyph. You should have seen Glyph before in the ecosystem, but basically Glyph is like a collaboration between two companies, Protofire and Infinite Scroll, and together we provide like application and hosted services in the Filecoin ecosystem. While the Infinite Scroll is mostly focused on the wallet solutions like multisig, Notary, Infinity Pool, the Protofire is mostly focused on the infrastructure part, so public, private API, the CID checker application though, the public repositories, and so on and so forth. So just like a small advertisement, tomorrow I'm going to be giving the speech specifically about the Glyph services. So come join me at Rima A stage at 1:30 p.m. to hear more about that. For now, I'm just going to mention that I am leading the not hosting services. So we are the provider that serves around 1 billion requests per month of RPC calls from the Filecoin community. What is the Protofire itself? The Protofire, we introduce ourselves as the solution marketplace. Imagine you have a new network, like subnet, right, in the IPC. And this subnet, you create it, or you have a completely new network, L1 network. You create this network, and then, you spend a lot of time, a lot of effort into bringing something new, something valuable, and then what? You have just simply an empty network? You don't have oracles straight away, you don't have marketplaces straight away, you don't have many others like the graph straight away, multisig straight away, verifier straight away, so on and so forth. And this is what Protofire have been doing for many years. We have been developing and integrating solutions that are supplementary and mandatory for many networks that are starting their lifting off, I would say. And I will expand on why I'm talking about this a bit later. So this is just an example of the solutions that we have been collaborating with or we have developed ourselves, like Solhin, the very popular Solidity hinter, essentially, Solhint, right? The Gnosis Safe deployments, we've done tens and tens of them, Ocean Marketplace, Chainlink, blah blah blah, many things. I would not go over this slide because when I created this presentation, I was expecting to have an audience of people who hear about the IPC for the first time, and I'm literally presenting to the guys who created the IPC, so I'm feeling a bit awkward about it, so I'm going to be skipping that one and that one as well. But now let's talk about what is really important. We are going to be talking about the deployment algorithm that we created as an architecture diagram. So this is the sequence diagram, essentially. There are 24 steps that you need to do to deploy the subnet today. just to summarize, right? You need like a DevOps expertise. You have to you need to have an expertise and experience in several technologies, most likely even programming languages. There are high mistake cost involved. It can literally take weeks or months for you to complete something. And then after you deploy the infrastructure, after you deploy your subnet, you need to keep maintaining it somehow. Then we try to visualize also like the components of the subnets, like IPC agent, which is subnet orchestrator, the UDCO, like the subnet nodes, all that kind of things, how they connected one to another. Honestly, guys, like you might want to take that to your README and all that. But essentially, like because that's like as was mentioned before here, the README is a huge problem. We spent a lot of time trying to organize it in a way that it will be like at least like clearly like to understand for what is going on. And right from us spending weeks and weeks on trying to figure out how IPC works, the idea of Genesis Ark was born. Well, I present the Genesis Ark, which is like Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers for the IPC subnet deployments. The name reflects the sci-fi style naming of things inside of the protocol labs. Like, guys, you have this outer core, like other things, like blah blah blah. So essentially, the Genesis Ark comes from two terms. The first one is Genesis file, which is used to, well, essentially instantiate the blockchain networks. And the second one is the Space Ark, which is like the sci-fi spacecraft that is used to inhabit the new planets. So essentially, we envision the Genesis Ark as the solution that will allow you to inhabit, to populate the planets, to create the new subnets inside of the Filecoin galaxy. Remember the 20-step scheme where it was. Here it is, right? Now I'm going to open the demo and try to show you how the process would look like through the Genesis Ark. Here we go. Here we go. Now I don't say anything, but okay. So essentially, we started to think about how the Filecoin website gonna look like in the future. Like, found the idea of adding here the deploy your IPC network button, right? So you click that, you end up being on your on the Genesis Ark website, and here you see the list of networks. It's not your networks. You don't even haven't even connected your wallet just yet. It's the list of networks that was deployed by somebody else who granted their permission to publish their subnets. And what you do, you essentially connect your wallet. You got the possibility to check the networks that were created by you, which are no networks for now. And you click create a new network. You have a new network. You have automatically pre-populated data straight away, right? So there's going to be randomly generated network ID, randomly generated appchain subnet name. There is going to be a few tweaks here that you might want to configure. Then you go to the Genesis file. Here, the one thing that's probably missing, we added this top up and bottom down parameters, all that kind of things. The one thing that's probably missing is the Genesis file itself, but still, the idea is that it's also going to be basically pre-populated with the default data. But of course, you will be able to alter it if you want to. You add some validators if you want. You want, right? And then configure the infrastructure. By default, the idea is that you need to have a possibility to launch the infrastructure without even any, like, it should be as cheap as possible. It should be next ready. At least that's how I envisioned in my head. So here you should be able to go even without the dedicated RPC nodes, in which case your validators is going to become the RPC node. But also you could add the RPC nodes, you could add the dedicated archive nodes, which will also affect the pricing, obviously. And that's pretty much it. Your network is ready to be deployed. But remember, I was like spending a couple of minutes talking about what Protofire was doing before, like talking about the Chainlink integrations we have been doing, safe integrations, all that kind of things. The one cool feature that is, like, I think is the killer feature for the Genesis Ark, that's like the guys who are working the same space doesn't have, at least yet, is the marketplace. So the idea is that the new chain that you deploy is not going to be just like an empty chain. It's going to be a chain that can be having like the tools, the really cool tools like Graph, Chainlink, Safe, like maybe Block Scout Explorer, or maybe some Zondex Explorer that have been developed, right? Like straight out of the box. So like the idea for us is to have a marketplace where we can have like all the tools and all the solutions that you might want for your brand new cool network. Essentially, for example, you click on like some Graph, Chainlink configuration, right? Block Scout, Uniswap, all these kind of things. Paying some money, of course. I mean, like, yeah. And voila, you have the network. The network that you could check and you could see. You could see that it is like deployed and available and all this kind of stuff. But let me get to my presentation really quick. I hope it is that one. Yes. Super sorry. Come on. Oh, right. Love. So I'm going to skip all that kind of stuff. I was like adding to the presentation just in case. Also, by the way, like the idea is that the solutions that you will be able to deploy also gonna be like configurable. So for example, for the graph, you will be able to specify the parameters that you might need, like the size of the instance, for example, this kind of stuff. But also you will have a reasonable default by default. And yes, I was talking also about the guys who are already like working in this area, right? Matt was mentioning that like we should not consider the like IPC as a solution for all the problems and all this kind of things. Even though the one important thing to understand is that IPC have been like a very popular topic nowadays for many networks out there, right? One of the examples that we could talk about is the Avalanche and Avalanche subnets. They are developing their AvaCloud solution that is supposed to be like also launched in the subnet, and starting from May till what is it now? It is the end of the September. The number of subnets launched on Avalanche raised from 200 or 100 to 2,000. So that's pretty hot topic, and they're nowadays developing the solution similar to Genesis Ark that is going to be letting people to deploy the subnets automatically. However, even like if they do, there are no fully automated solution just yet. But even if they are going to be having, the networks they are going to be creating are going to be the empty networks. it's not going to be having the graph out of the box. It's not going to be having like Gnosis Safe out of the box. It's not going to be having a lot of useful tools out of the box, blockchain explorers, oracles, etc., etc. But we are going to be having. Yes. So if you speak at business level, talking about super simple, the architecture of the Genesis Ark is going to be like something like that. But since like almost every single person here is the technical one, I will probably skip to the technical implementation. This is literally the 20 steps diagram, just describe it in Kubernetes plus Terraform stuff. And the idea was to make the solution like be splitted into two parts. The first one, like the open source, publicly available for everyone, is going to be like the Terraform script, right? That people will be able to use to easily deploy the IPC subnets if they want to. And the reason for that is that like there are DevOps who want to deploy subnets. Like there are companies, there are use cases for that. But the tricky thing is that they still don't want to like crawl through the readmes of the IPC networks and all that. They need like a simple way, like install Terraform, deploy code, voila, we are ready. Still, the second part of the solution, more of like the private source, going to be the idea behind this solution, right, is to be user-friendly. The hosted service, fully automated, fully available for like the users, because the one important thing that we realized during the years we have been working with different blockchain networks and with Filecoin as well is that if you develop the solution that is going to be DevOps friendly and not user friendly, it's not going to be having a really, really good adoption. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm ready for the questions. You could either ask them directly or even like use the following link. Up to you. Could you please give the or should? Yeah.
Just stop it. Waiting for you.
Yeah. So I'm totally open to.
Okay, thanks. So do you plan to support multiple participants across multiple administrative domains? So I assume this works if I'm the administrator of all validators that I want to deploy on a subnet, but we don't want this to be the case because we want decentralized subnets, right?
You mean that some of the validators are going to be externally owned, right?
However you call this, like Alfonso owns 2 validators, I own 1, and George owns 1.
I got it.
We come together through an UI that helps us come together, right?
Of course. So the short answer is yes. The longer answer would be like not at MVP. Like at the MVP phase, we will have to be like targeting for the functionality to make sure like it's for the MVP phase. We're not even planning to allow the network from network deployment, only like deployment from the root network. It's all these features like are something that's definitely are must have, like same as the feature you're talking about or the feature of like cascade deployment, right? It's a must have features and they are in the like roadmap, but not in the like MVP phase, I would say.
Thank you.
All right, more questions?
Mikhail, please.
Hey, I was wondering if like different parts of your solution can be used separately. For example, like if we want to introduce like graph and chain link and other stuff, into subnets, do they have to be hosted on Genesis Ark, or they can be added? It's a catch, right?
Well, I would say it's pretty much the same. Like, will we support this functionality? The short answer is yes. The long answer is, well, the very same as previous one. I mean, like, not for MVP. The idea, honestly, like, if you ask me, the marketplace idea is something that we are currently like working on, and we want to introduce it to be available for as wider set of clients as possible. And we definitely want that to be available for externally owned clients as well. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. The one important thing to understand is that imagine like the Graph, for example, or like this Safe or something else, right? If we are talking about some random L1 network, there is no guarantee, nobody is giving you a guarantee that the deployment scripts that we are going to be having for deploying of Graph, Safe, whatever, is going to work on this L1 network for many, many reasons, because it might be not supporting some of EIPs, not supporting some of the like features that this particular technology is requirement, all that, right? And this is going to be very important catchy thing, right? If we are going to be talking about like the standard execution engine, right? For example, if the subnet, no matter externally owned or internally hosted or whatever, is using the very similar to the Filecoin mainnet, for example, or to the majority of the subnets engine, then it's going to be easy to simply like integrate the new subnets with our solution, right? But from what I heard today, the subnets might be really, really, really unique. And in that case, it might be problematic. So this is why, like from the very beginning, it will be easier to support marketplace for the subnets that are going to be deployed through the Genesis Ark, because the platform itself will be like setting some constraints about how customized you might be. Then at some later point in time, because like the further we go, the more features we are thinking about, right? I want this platform to allow you to deploy as customizable subnet as possible. But that's like second step.
Yeah, sound good.
Thank you. Just a totally irrelevant question. Can you go back to the marketplace slide? What are the time frames? In some stuff says 2 hours, others says like 30 minutes. Is that deployment time?
The important thing to understand here is that we are talking here about the platforms that we have already integrated with. That's very similar to Mikhail's questions in terms of like, the right question here is like, how customized your subnet will be. If it's not going to be like very much customized from what we have already integrated with, yes, it's a very realistical time.
What's
right?
that estimation?
Sorry?
What's that estimation?
I don't see it from here.
There's an estimate. It's a day or 2 days. What does it mean? Is it how long it takes to deploy?
To deploy, yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's essentially how long it takes to deploy. I'm just saying that the time frame might be bigger if your network is like way more customized. But if it's like not as customized, it can be that time or even like faster. It's just like approximate estimations that we are reasonably make. Yes. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Can you add them later? So can you deploy the subnet and later add additionally extensions from the marketplace?
Yes, that was not shown in the flow that I'm having here. But essentially, you're like where it was. you see, like straight from here on the left side on the screen, you have the marketplace as a separate button. You essentially go there, you select the tool that you want to install, and then you select the subnet to deploy it to. As simple as that.
And how would be the integration for other oracles, for example, that want to be in your marketplace?
Well, that's essentially like something that needs to be discussed separately. That's something that is gonna go through the process of like contract signing and all that. That's I wouldn't say it's going to be easy, but we are totally open for the new solutions to be joining our marketplace. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question too. So obviously, like this is very well suited to the case of like application-specific subnets, right? You have your application, you want certain properties for your subnet, and obviously you're running the validators, or a small consortium of friends are, right? But yeah. So how do you foresee this, or like, is that the market that you're primarily going after, or also the market of like large-scale standing public subnets, right? So the general purpose kind, like the one that we're running for test purposes, where, I mean, I would imagine that like in the end, no one's paying to run it. I mean, people are running it because they expect to get transaction fees, right? They expect to make a profit out of participating in the subnet. So do you see this happening as like they could still deploy it through you and then collect the transaction fees? So, sort of arbitrage the thing, or would you also be doing would you also be getting on that business of running public general purpose subnets of your own for profit purposes rather than as a service to others?
That's a very good question. I love it. It's like, no, I honestly love it. It's like, the second part is like most likely yes. I mean, that's super interesting would be interesting for us to run that kind of subnets to gather the to get in the collection fees and all that, and yeah. But I would be like straight, completely honest here. We haven't thought about this model, even though it's completely valid. That would require the further considerations. But that's very interesting one. Thank you. I will definitely like take that into account.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, then
Is
thank
this
you.
ready?
Oh.
No, it's just like the demo right now. So we have the design of the API already. We have the design of the UI already. Like the hard part, the implementation, is something that still needs to be done. Yes.
When release?
Oh well, I mean like that would depends on like more talks between me, Mikhail, George. So I don't know. Anybody else? Any more questions? No? Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much. Please make sure to attend tomorrow's Glyph presentation at 1:30 p.m. Thank you, guys.